All right, good morning, everyone. We'll call the meeting to order for the Columbia 911's Communication District Board of Directors meeting, May 28th, 9 a.m. We'll do the flag salute, but I think right before we do that, we've already had some discussion here in the room about that tragedy in Longview. So we're going to do a little moment of silence for our hearts go out to everyone affected by this tragedy over in Longview. So, yeah, we'll just pause for a minute here. All right. We're going to go ahead and move right into the flag salute. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Roll call, I believe. We got Shelley online this morning. There, Shelley, okay. Brian, I don't see him yet. I think he might try to join us. I'm not sure. He's got a conflict with his work. Over here, we got
Mark Pacheco, Zone 3, St. Helens.
Tyler Miller, on 5, Scappoose.
and Jeff Flatt, board president from Rainier. So,
Jeremy Hypes, Executive Director.
Mary Jo Beck, Office Support Specialist.
Nathan Hughes, Tech Manager. Online, we have Chandra Egan, CAD Specialist, and Denzel Hooper, Operations Manager.
and then it looks like we've got Michael Peterkin online as well.
Good morning.
Morning. We'll go ahead and, at this time, we'll go ahead and open the budget hearing. We'll open the fiscal year 26-27 budget hearing. And we got any public comment? Nobody here, nobody online for public comment? Okay. Any discussion on the budget hearing?
Is the intention of the budget hearing just for the public to comment, or is that a time for the board to also discuss any outstanding issues?
Yeah, I think all of the above, I think, yeah.
Okay. I think I put this on the record last time, but I had requested some information from the executive director to help with understanding the budgeting process and also where we are at as an agency compared to others. And I just received that information 2 days ago, and I had not had time to review it yet. But I do want to restate that my concerns that I expressed last time are still, I think, something that the district and this board needs to take into consideration, to include the impact assessment on physicians, for example. For context, not filling the 4 open dispatch positions versus looking at the impact that admin positions have, and bringing that forward to the board so that we as a governing body can be educated and help guide what positions should potentially be impacted by any sort of budget issues.
Jeremy, can you?
Well, we can work on that. I do also want to say you brought up the classification review. We did initiate a classification review with HR Answers. They do give you 4 free hours through SDIS. So that is being incorporated in it. And they recently completed a process with Tillamook 911, who is also a special district. And they said actually within the last 30 days. So they have some good comparisons with us. They have worked in special districts and in 911 centers as far as physicians are concerned. They quoted me about a 2-week turnaround period. So as soon as I get that email from her with those updates, I'll get it emailed out to you guys for review. It does appear like it's within at least the prior director's period. There was a classification review done of some positions. I don't know that they were all the positions, but I initiated at least one now for the admin side of the house. We should have that back in the next, week and a half, if, at worst. She thought she could do it in a week, which would be like Wednesday of next week, we'd probably see it, but she did get the process started. She felt pretty good about it, and it's only going to cost us, I think she quoted us at like $2,000 for the classification review from SDIS service. Because they're not going to be putting as many hours in because they've already done a report, so they can use some of that report from Tillamook, but also because of the 4 free hours that are supplied to us. So we should have a classification review in our hands shortly.
Okay, so just to clarify
Yeah.
what the deliverables are that we're expecting next, those are the actual assessment of the classifications or in a basically a report recommend or?
There should be a report of recommendations on how they fit and if they need to be changed. So we should be getting a full report. That's at least the way she described it to me. That it'll be a full report with the recommendations as far as classifications and if there's something that fits better with.
Okay, and did we submit to her the actual things that these positions are doing as we know them?
They have their job descriptions, correct? They have their job descriptions and they have their pay scales, which is what she requested up front immediately as information.
Okay, my only concern is though, is that did you review those duties and those job descriptions to make sure that they're still accurate? Because I know.
Well, they're,
Experience that they're.
yes,
there's been
they're
changes.
most of them, the ones that have changed as of recently have been updated, including my position. I do believe the most recent updated one was Kirby's position. The others, the roles and responsibilities were, they were on bar. They haven't changed a whole lot, but so we should have a pretty good recommendation on where we're going from here soon.
Okay.
All right, any other comments on the budget hearing? I do appreciate Tyler's inquiries because we do have some difficult decisions ahead and, the more information we have, I think is gonna
And
help
just see
that.
And just so you know, just for an update, since Mickey's not with us today, Mickey did have her second surgery yesterday or on Tuesday. She's hoping to be home and recovering tonight. So if there is other questions from you guys regarding some of those, get them to me and I will try to sit down with Mickey as soon as possible and get answers for you guys on what the
Okay.
updates are.
Did we get flowers sent to her?
She actually refused the flowers because they die. So we're working on trying to find a plant that if we can incorporate at home or in her office or something for
Okay.
something else that
Yeah.
lasts a little longer. So we're working on it. But yes,
Well-
she specifically turned down the flowers saying they just die. So she says, I don't like flowers. So we've decided on something a little different, but we're going to figure something out for her. But she is doing good and hopefully will be in our home bed tonight, it sounds like. So if all goes well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, our hearts go out to her for a speedy and full recovery, so. Anybody else? Anybody online? Anybody here? Any comments for the budget? Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead and adjourn the budget hearing. At this time, we're gonna open up our regular board meeting and we'll talk about additions to the agenda. Anybody? Things to add?
Mr. Chair, I'd just like to clarify, so are we going to have executive session today? And we still have the performance evaluation to continue with our executive director?
Yes,
Okay.
I believe that's what's gonna happen. Is all of that on the executive session and the performance evaluations. Anybody else on the agenda? Anything? We'll go ahead and move into the minutes. Approval of the regular meeting minutes, May 20th. Our April meeting, but we had it in May. Have to motion to approve those in a second.
Are you looking for a motion to?
Motion, yeah, and then we can discuss anything, but a motion and a second for.
I'll move.
Okay, Tyler's got the motion for the April minutes. Any second?
I'll second.
Okay, motion and a second. Any discussion on any of those minutes? Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead and call for the vote for approval of the May 2026 April regular meeting minutes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carries. Financial, Jeremy, you gonna,
We're gonna, as Nikki has still been out on her leave, we do not have the expenditures and variances available for you right now. So we're gonna defer them to the next meeting, and we'll be doing both May and June at the June meeting.
okay. Turn over to Nathan for operations. Or excuse, Danielle, yeah.
I didn't catch it.
Yes. Sorry, Nathan. Danelle. Operations.
Hello, yes, I'm here. An update from operations, we don't have any changes in our staffing levels. We have 2 trainees that are progressing really well in training. And we did have 1 change in our training officers. Jolene Bocci returned to the program, which is very helpful. As far as hiring goes, we had 6 interviews on the 26th, and we're still making decisions about those. Our previous report was that we had someone that was going to be starting May 18th, and they did not finish or pass the final steps. So due to budget and everything else, we're going to still be working to fill that 1 position out of these applicants. As soon as I get that position filled, I'll be removing our recruitment until other decisions can be made. Spring training was very successful and included a field trip to Trojan, which resulted in really good collaboration with Trojan and some possible future training events. Law enforcement and EMS weeks were very successful, and I'd just like to share that during National Police Week and National EMS Week, we extend our sincere appreciation to law enforcement, fire, and EMS personnel who serve our communities with dedication, professionalism, and compassion each day. This month, members of our dispatch and administration visited agencies throughout our jurisdiction to personally recognize and thank them for their continued partnership and commitment. Kirby created personalized posts on our Columbia 911 Facebook page to further share our recognition and appreciation. Columbia 911 staff are really proud to work alongside these outstanding responders, and we collectively provide the highest level of service to our communities, and our dispatch staff are very grateful. Our public records continues to increase. At the time I wrote this report, it was at 351, and that is all I have for my report today. Does anyone have any questions?
No questions, and thanks for all your hard work, Danelle.
Thank you.
Now, Nathan, now you're up.
So we're working with Communications Northwest and Bay Wireless to look at the radio system maintenance and getting some items fixed on the radio sides. We're still waiting to hear back from Day Wireless and Communications Northwest, so hopefully next meeting we'll have some more information on that. The vehicle gate at Quarry Hill was successfully repaired for relatively cheap. And we are looking at fencing for the site at Bald Hill. We had some cows rubbing up against the cables there. And we're getting the process going with Columbia Northwest to replace the HVAC unit that was approved last week. CAD wise, we got 25.13 installed. We're seeing a couple little bugs. We're preparing to install 25.14 to see if those bugs are resolved, and hopefully we'll have a version for us to upgrade to. The audio recorder, as part of our maintenance, we're getting a refresh to our hardware
And that should happen in June or July. So that'll bring a whole new user interface, new tools. We're getting a demo of their AI product. Website. Last week we talked about Civic Plus and being forced onto their new platform. I did reach out to EvoGov and got some numbers back. It's a little bit more expensive upfront, but overall it's cheaper. Their product looks very interesting. I have a demo scheduled with them next week. It's $5,000 upfront and then $200 a month going forward after that. And then the network we have the new firewall set up on a test bench and we are configuring them to be installed shortly. Any questions?
Refresh my memory on what we're currently playing, that Civic Plus for
They run our website.
yeah. What's that fees look like for that? Do we know?
Yeah, so right now we're paying about 3,800 a year, and that's what it'll be for 2026. But in 2027, it's going to jump to 5,300 a year. So
That's where the savings start. If we were to go with
with
it.
EvoGov,
Okay,
What all are we getting for the recurring monthly fee? I mean, hosting is, a couple dollars when it comes to.
Yeah.
What are we getting for the hundreds of dollars per month?
good question because I have my own opinions on it. Knowing that building websites not that difficult. A lot of it comes with just the compliance and the ADA. So getting an ADA compliant product, and that's where it sounds like EvoGov excels is they don't overcharge. I know Civic Plus was an additional like 5,000 a year for the complete ADA package, which we did not get quoted. So
That
it's
sounds like a buzz marketing thing to me because as
a lot to
I all know, well, everybody in this room I think knows is the ADA compliance is in the front end in the UI.
a lot of it is so what in our old PDFs and stuff like that. So a lot of our PDFs technically aren't ADA compliant, old board reports and stuff. So when we migrate that, having a process convert all of that information.
But that's just an on-screen reader though, correct?
Not always. Sometimes you have a compressed PDF that's actually an image and the readers cannot read them.
The image, yeah. Do we have compressed PDFs? Or are they all image? Are they all Word or actual PDF files?
I could say they're all regular PDFs since I've been here. I don't know how far back our archive goes on our website.
I guess it's one thing if, like Jeremy or you have a request from the company and say, hey, we need this updated on our website, and those types of updates are included in that monthly recurring fee. But if it's strictly hosting, and all the ADA compliant stuff is just defined now. There's a checklist for it.
Yeah, I don't disagree. And I believe that $200 a month is a lot cheaper for ADA compliance, and having everything converted for us with EvoGov is more realistic. I think $200 a month is still astronomical for something that really is static and just a CMS product. But is it worth Merck's and I's hourly rate to go through and make fixes to the website versus creating a help desk ticket on a platform to say, hey, we want this changed and fixed. Can you go do it? And have that be included in that $200 a month. How often is that going to happen? Probably not a whole lot.
We'd have to assess how often those tickets are being submitted versus.
I know a big issue on our current website is the job application portion. We've looked at GovJobs, which is what WAFI uses, I believe, to do job applications. But so far, that's more of an operations decision to move off of, PHP form that we're using currently.
Yeah, they use NeoGov, and that's an expensive platform.
So from my personal experience with EvoGov, because I deal with them pretty regularly, they provide the hosting service, they provide all the templates. They also provide the online support anytime there's an issue with the website. Also, they periodically go through and check to make sure all the the back-end coding is up to date, because as you know, as the versions of the web crawlers change, sometimes it conflicts with existing templates and coding in websites. And so they keep their templates updated and make sure that everything's running as it's supposed to be running, even giving the new web browser updates and the different versions of the different crawlers that are out there. In addition to that, they are responsible for the security and the uptime of the server. So there is some back-end work involved ongoing for.
One thing that jumped out to me was in the quote, they had a guarantee that all of our old links would continue to work. And it sounds like from your experience with Civic Plus, that was not something that happened.
Right. And you haven't seen any representation to that in the Civic Plus proposal? They don't.
In the last couple of years, I've not been very happy with their company or their product. I think they're moving too fast and doing things too loosey-goosey. I mean, I met with their sales representative who'd been there for 2 weeks, and it didn't even sound like you wanted to sell me the product. It was very disappointing and frustrating.
To give you an idea of what I paid for our corporate website, I paid about $70 some per month for hosting, which I think was just on DigitalOcean, because there's no real compliance concerns there with like HIPAA or not HIPAA, but CGIS, things like that. And then we paid a company called Top Brothers to do our maintenance, and they just billed us $60 an hour for what they actually did.
It's a possibility. I mean, we can go further. It's just right now, Civic Plus has put us in a very difficult position, telling us, last minute, hey, you need to do this now kind of thing. So we could migrate off to another platform, and then it sounds like EvoGov does in-place upgrades instead of, whole platform upgrades. So it'd give us more of a chance in the future to possibly hire somebody to create a website for us and then host it somewhere. It's not like we need even a $70 a month server. Probably a $5 a month server could host our website.
Yeah, I think it might be good to make a change here. So any other comments or advice from?
No,
I know
no.
Mark and Tyler both had a lot more experience with this than.
We have a demo scheduled next week of the EvoGov platform to see, what their product is like. It sounds like they might be able to roll in our records requests into their platform, which would also save a bit of money in that price point.
Yeah, I think this is more Mark's area. I'm more on the enterprise application custom coding.
Yeah, where the cost also comes in for EvoGov and Civic Plus is that they are used to working with .gov entities. So they know what minimum criteria they need to hit. So that way everything's above board and secure and all that fun stuff. So, you could do something like HostGator and do just a cheap hosting company and have somebody build a website.
Just thinking of a WordPress template.
Yeah, it could be done, but then there is the back end, keeping up with everything, making sure all the plugins are still working, and having somebody that's familiar with WordPress, that's ready to jump in and fix those things when they break. My experience with EvoGov is when I call them, particularly yesterday, I had an issue with the Columbia County website. One of the images wasn't rendering correctly, and I wasn't able to fix it from where I sat. So I got them involved via web chat, and they had it resolved within 5 minutes. So it was just something that they could look at on the back end. Obviously, if I had access to their back end infrastructure, the proprietary setup, it might have been a little different, but it is nice to know that somebody's there ready to answer. And I've even called John on his personal cell on off hours, and he's been responsive. So I haven't had any complaints with him. And, I think the additional cost involved with having somebody, not just one person, but a group of people on standby when you're having technical issues is beneficial. So that's kind of the the cost and the trade-off is, do you pay the extra every month to have people there that can take care of this immediately for you, or do you save the money and stock it away for when you do have an issue and have to pay rush charges to get somebody there to take care of it? So it's a trade-off.
So when is if we were to make a change, you mentioned that Civic Plus has kind of backed us into a corner here and something. What's the time frame on?
I think we have a couple months and we need to pull the trigger relatively soon. EvoGov was quoting 60 to 90 days to move everything over.
So maybe we could add this to an agenda item for next month, and in the meantime, if we want to make a change, then would that be doable, or we need to do something today?
I think we need to do something in the meantime. We can push it off. It's just for 60 to 90 days. We only have a couple months to make a decision. We're really eating into that time if we decide to move platforms.
Okay.
Could we just, as a board, just, if Mark is willing, just work with Nathan and they can
Make it happen.
Yeah, since
I'm good with that.
He's a resource, so
Yeah.
with a lot of experience in it, so why not?
Yeah.
Is there a demo? I can shoot them an email and say, this is my opinion. Do you have any opinion? And we can move from there.
Yeah.
And if you want me to sit in on the demo with you, I'm happy to do that. I can join virtually and obviously I can tell you if he says anything different to you than he said to the county, because,
Yeah.
every sales pitch is a little different. So, and I can't say no.
They've seen it.
Yeah, I can't say no now that Tyler's volunteered to be publicly at a meeting, so I'm happy to help.
At 5 a.m. next Tuesday.
Yeah, right. Sounds good.
No, I think that's a good way to move forward, and if Mark's willing and you guys could move forward with that, I think that would be good.
Sounds like a plan.
Let me know.
Yeah. Anything else from Nathan? Network thing?
Oh, I did have a question. So you said that you're having some bugs with the 2513 CAD version.
Yes.
Did that change the timeline at all? I mean, I know we talked about fall 2026.
Officially, it has not changed the timeline, but we are getting to the point where we need to either do something or push it. And so my feeling is if 2013 or 14 doesn't fix our issues, we will probably move either into like November at the very latest, or we'll be pushed into spring to avoid all the holidays.
What is the operational impact?
That's really what's pushing it. I mean, if everybody just could figure out how to use the software, it'd be real easy, but it's going to be a whole new MDT, a whole new install for all the MDTs in the county. And when you look at Washington County and Clackamas County, that's a huge, huge uplift. So getting that installed everywhere and then creating training for that. So our plan internally for at least Columbia County is to create a series of YouTube videos, send that to everybody and have that as a resource along with the actual like user manual that Central Square publishes. Sometimes it's easier to find, a 2-minute video and see how to do something. The software itself is pretty dang intuitive. It would really be just kind of one-off little items for the users in the field. Dispatch, most of it really hasn't changed, but the call taking screen has been completely redesigned. And so there's going to be a little bit of change in just muscle memory. Part of that is our ECT screen went from probably about that big to about that big. So we purchased some monitors and we're adding a 4th CAD monitor. So right now they have 3 for CAD, 1 for radio / like an internet PC that they can have unrestricted access to the internet. And then they have the Vesta monitor. So we're adding another 32-inch monitor to their setup for just that ECT, and so that they can have a little bit more room to breathe in CAD.
So does the upgrade rely on Washington and Clackamas? Basically, everybody else is on Central Square that's part of this ecosystem does it rely on everybody upgrading at the same time?
Yeah, we have two replicated server stacks, one in Washington County, one in Clackamas County. And one of the upgrade piece of it is one of the group server-wide updates. So it does rely on WACA, Lake Oswego, WACA, Lake Oswego, Clackamas County, Columbia County are all affected by those upgrades.
And it's not like they're holding us up by
No.
being nitpicky. It's, oh, we clicked on, our unit screen, or not our unit, our incident screen to open up an incident. 3 out of 4 times it works, but 1 out of 4 times it doesn't work. So getting that bug fixed, there was an issue in a previous version like .12 that if you put in a cross tree, sometimes CAD just crashed and everything went away. So
Which is one of the reasons why we always put it in a test environment first and play with it to see if we can break it beforehand, because the last thing you want is that happening in the middle of an incident on a live CAD.
the new version is a little bit nicer. The MDCs don't have to be upgraded in step with CAD anymore. They can actually continue to upgrade as CAD stays static. So that's a little bit nice if the MDCs get new features, but we don't want to do a full CAD refresh. We can actually just update the MDCs to the latest software, and there's just feature flags that turn portions on and off. And so things are becoming a little bit more agnostic and working together instead of relying everything in step.
Mhm.
I mean, as from the executive side of it, the directors are all pretty much in agreement on the avenue we're taking. The WAC has got a lot more pressure from its users, of course, to move on as quickly as humanly possible, just because, they're more reliant on their independence with their CAD, with their MDTs, and their mobiles, where we're not as, in either of the other agencies. So we're all in lockstep in how we're handling this. The next step, because we don't feel we're getting the proper response from Central Square, is we are drafting a letter from the executive directors as a whole saying, these are the expectations, you're not meeting them. How are you going to fix them? What are the deliverable dates? Why is it being held up? And we keep going back to them. We're trying to find ways to crank up the pressure on them a little bit more just to see what we can get out of them. But sometimes they seem to be really responsive and sometimes they're not. And again, as he was talking about with Civic Plus, every time you reach out, you talk to somebody different because there's so many people moving in the company, whether it's new positions, leaving positions, getting let go, whatever that may be. Really, quite honestly, across the board, everybody's kind of tired of this ongoing push and shove with them that, we're paying for a product that we're not getting the service we deserve. But the alternatives are going out and trying to hunt for another CAD system, which I don't know that any of us can afford right now. But, I guess that's a further discussion for down the road. But for right now, we're trying to turn pressure on them, trying to get some sort of a response, get some deliverables out of them, and try to figure out why we're not getting the response we want and why some of this stuff is taking so long to get completed.
The other option is withholding payment, which is what we've done in the past to get their butts in gear.
Can they shut anything off, or is everything local?
Everything's local.
Yeah. That's the nice thing about having the two local server stacks is we do completely control the system. It's, they can't shut us off per se.
Yeah.
They can stop, providing support, I suppose, if they really want to, but they can't really shut us off.
Are they not meeting the SLA terms?
Yeah, well, I guess that depends on which term you're looking at. So I'm the newest person on the panel of the executive directors. The SLA itself is being upheld, just not to the responsiveness or the standards we'd like to see. So the problem is when the agreement was written and they were meeting all those, and then that changed and the agreement has kind of hung, and we are looking at other alternative options about potentially involving at the Magix level, involving attorneys and those kind of things to help try to push it and make changes, because they make lots of promises and then they fall short, it seems like, over and over again. So
Yeah.
there are sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, unfortunately, with these PE-backed large software companies, they have in-house legal counsel. You'll spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on billable legal counsel outside here and get nowhere.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree, which is why we haven't necessarily pulled that trigger yet, because it is just a money suck. So there are other, I mean, if we wanted to look at other opportunities, there's other opportunities out there. Is there one that's going to serve our needs better? I don't know. It's going to be so much legwork and background, and does it make more sense to go to an individual operating CAD system and pay for it all ourselves instead of sharing costs? Guess it depends on the CAD system, what that looks like.
Yeah,
So,
and the conversation for a different time, but that'd be my preference for a variety of reasons. But I know the sheriff's office in St. Helens PD are also having, have you guys heard about this, the platform
And work
problems?
and
Yes, it's the same thing that I flagged for them 2 years ago when they went to this, and this agreement said that this agreement is insufficient, and this is exactly, everything that I flagged for them is exactly what's happening now. So anyway,
Yeah.
lesson learned, hard lesson learned, I guess, because now they can't afford it.
right now stuck with the state, getting action set up with them, and emails are being sent, but for some reason, nobody's receiving any emails or getting them back.
All right. Anybody got anything else for Nathan? I had, we got that letter from the Fire Defense Board wanting more progress on stuff. And so this is maybe for both Nathan and Jeremy, but I personally, I would like to see kind of a punched list, maybe an updated version of, okay, here's what we've done, here's what we plan, so we can kind of
and
track
just
where we're at and what.
I can, go into the radio system project updates I was going to provide you, but
Okay.
I met with Bay Wireless last week after our last meeting. Had a difficult conversation, narrowed down some requirements. They are working on a scope of work for us, a step-by-step scope of work with contract in place so we can see what that looks like. And then last week, Nathan and I also managed to meet with Communications Northwest. Had a pretty decent meeting with them, or it was last week, right?
Yeah.
My days have all blended together this week. Had a good conversation with them. They're working on a apples to apples comparison for us as well with the scope of work in place, so that we can bring you guys two scopes of work with the costs so you guys can see them both and see what they look like. That being said, we also need to have a real conversation on what our reserves are going to look like, budgetary going down the road as well. So the next advisory committee meeting, which is in July, I would really like to see as many of the board of directors be present as possible. We'll notice it, just so that there's a real clear conversation between all of the users and the board of what we're looking at for the future and the direction that we need to look.
Do we have a date for that?
It's the last Tuesday of July, so get there. So we're looking at the 28th of July, and it starts at noon.
I will be gone the whole month of July, but I can join virtually.
Thank you.
Yeah, all righty.
It would be a great meeting to have all of the board of directors at, as well as the users, so we can have a clear conversation between the two groups on a direction for the district and the plans that we're looking at. And again, we'll have the scope of work from both Bay Wireless and Communications Northwest here in the next week or two. So we'll have that prepared for you guys as well, post with, so we can try and make a decision on what we do. But so that's the update for the radio project update that we have, and we can work on a punch list of what has been done and next steps so that you guys can kind of see what we've
Very good.
accomplished.
All right, nothing else for Nathan. Thank you, Nathan, and we'll turn it over to Jeremy for his.
Well, my director's update hasn't changed a whole lot in the last week. There's a list of meetings that I have attended. A lot of these are revolving monthly meetings that occur every month. We did an ASA meeting on a weekend to try to make some movement on the ASA. The ambulance service agreement, that doesn't seem to have moved yet. I do know that they were going back to the county to try to get some deliverables from the county on how they can move forward. We had our spring staff meeting, which Danelle talked about. I do want to thank Kirby for thinking outside the box and finding something a little different than just sitting in the classroom and getting people out to do a site visit at Trojan was great for just getting used to the geography, knowing the site, should we have a call there, those kind of things. Great way to think outside the box and use our money for more effective stuff than necessarily just sitting around and staring at a screen. So the staff seem to appreciate the ability to go out and see the site as well. So attended the first responders meeting in St. Helens School District. It's the first time I had the opportunity to attend that one. That was there was a hostage negotiation team out of Washington County Sheriff's Office came out and did a little presentation. That was a great meeting. And it was a lot of great information. I didn't realize that their team had grown so much over the years, but their Washington County hostage negotiation team is massive now and are involved in a lot of different projects. Lower Columbia River Jog. I don't remember if I've explained that one to you guys or not. We were invited. That's out of actually WashDOT, Washington Department of Transportation. Has put together a monthly meeting where it's the joint operations group. So it involves police departments, fire departments, and transportation agencies for the local cities, counties, and states to sit down and just basically have a conversation on what's going on in their areas. Is there a way we can communicate better? Is there a way we can share information better, be more efficient? They are one of the agencies that potentially they have it's kind of like what Oregon Department of Transportation has on their website, where you can see where the crashes are and stuff. They have a very similar product. They're reaching out to the PDCC group as a whole just to see if they can get a basic notification of crash location with no other details. There's going to be some contract language and stuff if the group decides to move forward with sharing that info. Since it doesn't just affect us, it would affect the Portland Metro Dispatch Center group through our CAD system. So, and then the River Safety Task Force, which is made up of everybody on the lower Columbia River, U.S. Coast Guard, everybody pretty much from Gresham to the coast is invited on that one. Talked about the upcoming summer months, water rescues, boat fires, how to respond to boat fires. That was one that Danelle would normally attend, but she had another meeting at the same time, so I went in place of. As far as just so you guys know, my wife has planned a vacation for me. First week of June, I'll be out of the office the 1st through the 3rd. I'm going to have limited access to my cell phone. I will put an out of office reply and I'll email you guys with who to reach out to if you have questions while I'm gone. So I just wanted to give you guys a heads up.
So you're just to clarify, you're just gone Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday?
That is correct. I'll just do those 3 days. Yeah. And actually, I'll probably be back in the office Wednesday afternoon if Nikki is back in time for us to start working on some budget stuff, or payroll stuff. So I will probably be back in that afternoon, but most of the day I'll be out.
All right, some of this stuff, old business, some of it's already kind of been addressed here, but we can go ahead and move into the old business part of your.
So the radio system, I just gave you the scope of work updates are coming down the road for us with the clearer definition on what we're looking for the scope of work. I'll have those guys available for you here shortly. And again, we'll have one from Communications Northwest and one from Bay Wireless. Directors evaluate. Did anybody have any questions before I jump off of that?
I do, yeah, I have some questions about how the radio system upgrades are being handled. I do have some concern because, as Jeff pointed out, we got the findings from the sites from the PM on February 2nd, or I'm sorry, I don't know if that's the date that we got them, but at least one of the sheets I looked at is dated February 2nd.
That's when they completed their report.
So we're almost 4 months into this, and in my opinion, we really don't have much of any traction. I don't think we're going about the process in the right way, and I'm concerned because we do have that letter from the Fire Defense Board, saying that, hey, we need to get this done, and I think we all agree we need to get it done. But this kind of also connects to your comment about the CAD, where you have users saying, hey, we need to get this done, but the other folks that are very experienced in tech are saying, no, we need to do the proper testing first, because the impacts you see there could be much more a lot bigger than rolling it out sooner just for convenience. But anyway, I'm concerned because if you go and start making changes to the antenna system, that's, you know, the coax, the antennas, different antennas, you're gonna see different propagation and different power coming out those antennas. Well, we have a simulcast system. And there's timers on every single one of those sites that use GPS that launch the signals from each one of those sites at a precise time. If that does not happen, you will have simulcast distortion and your users will not be able to understand anything other users are saying. So the one piece that's missing to all this, that at least I haven't seen it, is where is the engineering related to what we're proposing here to make sure that we have the correct ERP and all the power and the antenna patterns and everything are correct. Because you go and do this work and you launch this, the second you turn this on, you could have a major issue. In Scappoose, we already have an issue. Go sit at Highway 30 in EM Watts. You can barely understand anything because the signal drops because of the simulcast overlap. But I don't think we're going about this right way, and then we're losing a bunch of time because these types of activities should have been put out in one scope of work that's all the same, so everybody's bidding on the same thing months ago. So, and then it's a little irritating also because we had an emergency resolution in front of us last time trying to claim there was an emergency on this, but yet we're 4 months into this and the administrative process of planning this and getting it done, in my opinion, has not been there. So I think we really need to look at what's happening here. It's great that the scope of work and the quotes are getting done by Dave Wireless and Communications Northwest, but who's doing the study to make sure that we're not going to make the system worse? On the simulcast
Who
side.
should do it? Where are the options?
So that's an engineer level, a PE level thing. So I think Dave Wireless does have an engineer from what I've heard on staff. So I don't know if that's in his wheelhouse to do, but if it is, then he of course could do it from the Dave Wireless perspective. The other thing that we could do is we have a relationship with Federal Engineering and using a third party that can create one report to send to both bidders or how many of the bridges we have would be the more, I don't want to say professional is not the right word, but maybe more appropriate thing to do. Because then you're getting one report from one engineering firm that has nothing to do with sales. That's saying, you know, this is what needs to happen.
And Spencer or Jason, I don't know if you guys or I think I see Jeff online as well. So over the years, and I know we have a relationship with MNI Networks, Microwave Networks Incorporated, I believe is what it stands for. There's been a relationship there as well prior to me coming aboard to do some of that engineering work from beforehand. I know you guys have worked, Dave Wireless has worked with MNI on projects and is one of their contractors. Do you guys know, I'm well, I shouldn't say I'm guessing, but do we have information to back up that engineering is being done by MNI to prove that what we're doing is working? I know when we talk to them about radio work, they send us schematics, they send us the equipment pieces they need, they tell us what needs to be done. So I'm guessing there is an engineering report there that we've been working off of. I don't know if you guys have a copy of it. I'm going to have to dig to try to find it in all my paperwork. But I mean, I don't know how long that relationship's been with MNI either.
MNI's backhaul.
Is it just the backhaul side of it?
Yeah, they're not doing engineering on the RF side. It's all the backhaul side, right?
Oh,
It's all
okay.
backhaul. Yeah.
Okay. I was not aware that they were only a backhaul.
No problem. Yeah, they're not on the LMR side. They're on the backhaul. Well,
Yeah.
they're only on backhaul.
Gotcha. Okay. That makes a little more sense now then. I did not realize they were backhaul only. That is an information loop for me that is, of course, okay.
I mean, there's other,
Yeah, no.
you could use AdCom, you could use Federal. There's different, I mean, we could even call ABCO and see who they recommend.
Yeah.
If you want. The
Yeah.
point being is the work has to be done. Because without that information, imagine going and doing all this work with these antennas
No,
and everything,
yeah.
turning it on, and there being huge areas across the county that now nobody can understand the radio traffic.
That makes a little more sense on the engineering side. Now, I did not realize that MMI was just the backhaul side of it. That is me, my lack of knowledge with MMI. All right.
Okay, anything else on the,
Yeah, I have a quick question. So I'm noticing that the quotes from Day Wireless expire mid-June. -3 expires June 11th and -7 June 18th. Any reason for concern on that, or can those quotes be extended?
I'm gonna guess the scope of work will come out with the updated timeline on that. And they're saying yes. Also, we have found another potential funding or a payment agent or contracting agent, whatever terminology you want to use, with Washington County. That may actually be able to save us some money as well. So that they're looking at now also for reduction. And a purchasing agent I wasn't aware of that we were included from Washington County, and so that we can use.
Well, all the manufacturers are pretty much on the Sourcewell and NASPO contracts too, and those are usually all north of 20% off. So the discounts that we get on the equipment should be generally at least 20% off.
okay, any other comments on radio? I think we got some clarification there and we can,
Well, Jeremy, can you give us a high level, just really quick summary of what the scope of work is that you gave or what we're expecting?
So the scope of work that we were requesting is not only the contract, but the checks and balances, how are we checking to make sure the work's verified, when are we checking the work to make sure it's verified, the steps they're going to use at the sites when doing the equipment. All of the, the nuts and bolts nitty gritty of what the process is going to look like, from us going up and doing testing and double checking and what reports they're going to provide. They'll do these PMs and update these with new as they go through the process as well. So that it helps provide a little background of the checks and balances. So the scope of work should include really the process they're going to do to complete the updates on the sites.
Are we also kind of refining the quote so that it's including everything outside the tower and inside the tower for the antenna systems?
The request was made to have it broken down like that, an idea of what that's going to look like for each site. So,
Okay. And as you and I talked about before, my request is that if they think that something does not need to be replaced for some reason, explain why and give us the data to back that.
gotcha. Spencer, did you? Yeah, thank you. And that was the other side of that is, those quotes they originally gave us are kind of the worst case scenario if they have to replace everything. If there's a reason that we don't have to replace it, we had just a conversation with Ron Policoni yesterday just to kind of run some things by him for some additional info. Just another set of eyes on it as well, since he doesn't charge us anything for it. And Ron, explained some of the wire or the cabling makeup and the chance of the cabling itself being bad, though there is that possibility of the cabling being bad. It's not a guarantee that it's going to be just there. Unless there's damage to the cable, the degradation isn't necessarily a concern, but will need to be tested to verify. So there are ways that this project, even though as we go forward, as they do the testing through the process, that we're going to identify things we may not have to replace. But I think it would be nice to know why we didn't replace it. I do agree. It would make a lot of sense to have a list of, we didn't replace this because of it tested fine or looked good or whatever that may be. So.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if we're not replacing, we know a lot of this is over 15, 20 years old. So, if you're saying it's not, I mean, that's awesome that it doesn't need to be replaced, but we need the documentation that justifies and tells us why.
Sounds good.
Should we respond to the letter with any sort of a update, potential timeline, some sort of written response saying, hey, we've heard you. This is what we're working on. This is what we're looking at.
yeah.
That way, everybody's on the same page. They don't feel like they're being ignored. Just
Basically what our next steps are.
yeah.
Okay, I will craft a letter in response. And I also do attend all their fire defense board meetings every month and give them updates also in person, but it is a good idea. We probably have something in writing.
Well, and I think that, it's an appropriate response, given that they gave us a letter, that we provide them something in writing saying,
Okay.
here's the plan.
Got it.
Yeah, good idea, Mark.
And it really is, because I think, the main potatoes of the letter is we agree, but we want to make sure that we're doing this right and spending money wisely.
Yeah.
So, we could cause a much bigger problem if we don't do
Right.
the proper steps, and we
Okay, I will work on getting it drafted and reply to it.
expeditiously to get that done.
Yeah, we could trip ourselves up.
Executive Director evaluation, I believe we're gonna go into executive session for that. Is that everybody's? Okay,
If that's what you wish, that is what it's on the agenda for. Opportunity.
and then we got SDAO training, team building policies.
The team building training, you said you got a response from Shanta Carter.
Yes, I just got the response this morning and she gave me dates that the consultant is unavailable. So I'll be sending out a doodle poll just around those dates.
And if there's no concerns, the request has been made prior to show when people are not available or are available, so that if there is some flexibility in people's schedules, they can try to make that work. Tyler's made the request just because, he does have a busier schedule. If you say you're available that day, he might be able to clear up a day on his schedule to attend on that one. So before we send it out, if you need assistance figuring out how to let everybody see each other's responses.
Okay, yeah, maybe.
Okay, we'll get that sent out with that available so that everybody can see. So if there is just one person that can't, maybe that one person can find a way to make it happen.
They won't do it. She said every board member has to be
Right.
present.
Right. Yeah, so in that way, it gives us an opportunity to maybe find a date a little sooner than later.
Okay,
Do we have, what were there June dates available? Do you recall?
Did I bring that in there with me? Oh, wait. There are some June dates available, like mid-month. Like the 1st through the 9th is not good, and then the 21st or 21st, oh my gosh, 24th through the 29th is unavailable for June. So we're probably mid-month maybe.
okay. And I am the 14th through the 25th is not gonna work for me, so June's probably not. Unless there's something there between the 9th and the
14th, between that and the 14th.
yeah.
But yeah, I will get this probably out by end of day is the plan.
Yeah, and if you need
We
help,
can find something.
with this setup, I think I've done it before to see what everybody's availability is, so I can help you with that if you need it.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Okay, chapter 4, board members' duties and responsibilities. There had been several variations of this back and forth. The red line copy is attached. Sorry, excuse me. Got a problem. We talked about the updates. We do have Mr. Peterkin available to us to answer some questions. He helped craft this with some of the final updates. There was some questions also that came across about I just pulled that blank on me, I'm sorry. There were some questions that were brought up several times over the responsibilities of the board members, as well as some of the different language that was included in here. I think we've been kicking this around since January, it looks like. It'd be really nice to try to put a final stamp on this and move this along.
Is the bulk of this is right out of SDAO, is that kind of correct?
There is a chunk out of here that was recommended by SDAO. And that is under the find it again here. There is some of the language in I do believe under the executive director, section 2, regarding the individual board members, and then board conduct. A lot of that language was also taken straight off of SDAO's website. Michael, I think if you have anything to add there, that would be a good time to add it in if you.
Good morning, Board of Directors. I did call SDAO to determine how they came up with this language, and it was carefully considered by SDAO to balance interests of directors, protect the district and the directors from their own missteps. And so SDO supports and advocates this language. But of course, this board is independent and has a right to decide the language it wants. And so if this isn't it, you need to tell me what to draft.
Yeah, so I did read, and the Director Height's comment, this has been outstanding now for quite some time. But I read my concerns some time ago. And I think the board said, yeah, let's get additional information. And we did receive a letter from legal counsel, the board did, regarding some things, but a lot of my concerns were still not addressed that I read. So I still have that concern. And without going into detail, because of the potential attorney-client privilege nature of the communication that Mr. Peterkin had sent us, the cases that Mr. Peterkin had cited, again, without going into detail, are all based on private company. We are a government entity with qualified immunity. So it's not the same as comparing things that have happened in the private industry. So I still would like my questions answered. And the other thing that I would add to this too is why not just get a couple of the cities' policy on this? Because there's at least a couple cities in this county that operate with the same form of government, which is a city manager council form of government, which is identical to what we do here, where we have an executive director, board of directors sort of arrangement. So I think, as written, my personal opinion is this is not enforceable. And if it was enforced, you would probably run the potential of having the First Amendment or other claims against a board.
Yeah, so I'm not familiar with any information that you're needing that you didn't get. So maybe if you can reach out with that, I'd like to, we don't have to talk about it today if you don't want to, but we need to move forward on this week.
Well, one of the things, sorry, not to cut you off.
No, you're good.
One of the things I didn't understand about some of the language, and again, because this has taken so long for us to get through too, my memory on this is not, for example, this was on the agenda the last time to talk about, then we didn't talk about it. So I didn't know if it died and was going away. And so I didn't reread everything to refresh my memory again for this meeting. But one of the things too is some of the language, without getting into specifics, because again, I need to reread it. I can list those out for the next meeting if you'd like. But as far as board members getting involved with anything, the executive director runs the daily operations, and I think that's already established in the existing policy. To the extent that any board member would get involved, I think it's already in there that it would be through the majority of the board's consensus, and it would be purely in a support capacity to help the executive director with something, but it's not a decision or a role or and I point that out, the decision aspect, because we're talking about liability. If the executive director is still the one making all the decisions and running all the official business, how do we get to a liability situation to where we need to amend the existing language?
Yeah, I'll turn it over to Michael for any information on that, because that's some of those questions that I don't have answers to, so.
We were tasked with updating chapter 4 some time ago. And we did that. And under the existing policy 4, I would note that there is some of the same restrictive language. And so it comes down to management of day-to-day operation and a division between the board as directors and administrative staff who control and manage the day-to-day operations. And, you know, I don't want to go too far here because I can say that certainly SDAO is concerned about any director overstepping and putting themselves and the district into a liability situation. And so this board is an oversight board. It does not, it handles policy, but it doesn't, for example, it does not control and should not control day-to-day operations. That is first through your executive director and then delegated out to the remainder of the administrative staff. The other problem is that if one person chooses to try to invade the province of the executive director, then the question comes up about authority. Well, how is that one person acting with authority of the board? Because not one of you have the authority to act for the board. You have to act collectively. You have to act after a resolution or a motion, some act to authorize an individual director. And so the board here is trying to establish through these policies the line between the board of directors under ORS Chapter 198 and ORS Chapter 403 and the duties and powers of the board. And that line being on the one side, the authorization and policy making, and on the other, day-to-day operation. That's what the SDO language was trying to achieve, a proper balance. And it's up to the board to arrive at the appropriate language. Now, I will say that Miller Nash has also looked at that language and has agreed with it. And there's disagreement with it. And if the board wants further instructions, I'm sure that we can provide it. But ultimately, where is the dividing line that this board wants to see between the board of directors and administrative staff?
Mr. Chair, hold on a second, Tyler, because we've heard from Tyler. We know he's opposed to it and we know he's
We're
got
talking
some
past each other on that.
No, we got some concerns. I'd kind of like to take an opportunity to hear from Mark and or Shelley on this. I want to come back to you, Tyler. I don't want to ignore you, but I want to give everybody a chance to raise any questions or concerns or issues.
It might make it easier though. I'm not in disagreement about this part. This is one part of what I'm talking about.
So, Mark, have you got any questions, problems, anything to add on any of this, anything?
No, I don't have a problem with this section either.
Okay. And Shelley, I want to reach out to you for anything on that.
No, I don't have any problems with this. I think we've been looking at this since January. And the information's been given to us and we've read through it. So I'm good with it.
And then unfortunately, Brian isn't here today, but I think the majority of us are on board. I think Tyler's on board to a certain extent, but there is some some questions. So I'm gonna turn it back to you, Tyler.
Yes, thank you. So I'm not in disagreement over the general theme that the executive director runs the day-to-day operations, board members don't, and what our roles are. That part is understood. I know what I signed up for. We do the same thing at the city. It works really well. But this is one piece of what these revisions are. So the part that I have a problem with is any language or any revisions that restrict speech. So for example, if I remember correctly, and I'd have to go back through and read it because again, I didn't read it before this meeting. But the issue that I see is here we are with an elected board. So 5 different board members. And what is the purpose of that? The purpose is to bring different opinions and different representation across the entire district. But then when you add things in here that restrict speech of certain board members, that is where the line is. That is where this goes afoul. So if we can remove the parts that restrict speech of an individual, I will probably be able to get on board with this, but I have no problem with the model that we run here, and that is the executive director runs the day-to-day operations. I don't think we've had any problems with that. But it's anything that restricts speech and basically doesn't support the whole concept of having 5 different elected board members.
I'm not familiar with anything in here that was gonna restrict your speech. Now, I'm not saying it's not there, but I didn't see it. Michael, can I turn it back over to you to?
Sure. Well, look, I would suggest, I don't want to kick this can down the road any longer. However, there is no intention to restrict speech in the way that I think Director Miller is suggesting. What we're trying to achieve through the policy 4 is to set a proper standard of conduct. And so, for example, when is a particular director authorized to go and talk to staff about issues that have not been authorized by the board? Can he or she go to an individual employee or administrative staff and admonish them for doing X when they should have done Y? We can have a lot of examples. Our goal was to separate, again, the board and its authority from day-to-day operations. So if Mr. Miller and his council want to send us a red line where they believe that this policy implicates some sort of First Amendment rights, we would certainly be glad to weigh it. I mean, I will say that, they seem to disagree with SDAO. SDAO is saying, no, we've looked at this policy. We don't believe it implicates any First Amendment rights. But look, we remain an open, let's look at the red line and make a final decision. If they make a rational argument that a particular sentence or phraseology somehow implicates First Amendment rights, which, depending on the circumstances, may not even be applicable, then we'll weigh it. We want the goal is to have the board functioning under revised policies consistent with good district management. And when I say district, I'm saying ORS Chapter 198 kinds of district management. And, the fact that we went to SDAO's forms and adopted their language, we thought this would be non-adversarial and a good middle ground.
So I think we have enough people on board that we could push this through, but I do want Tyler to, I don't want to, Railroad Tyler on the board if he's got concerns about that. So Tyler, can you redline anything something there that you're not on board with?
Yeah,
And you
sure.
can address that.
Sure, it's, it's like, and I don't think this is the entire red line, maybe Mr. Peterkin can,
What page are you on?
32 in the PDF. You're using printed pages there.
Yeah.
It's,
Section 3, Board of Conduct.
no, it's under, 5 powers and duties of the board.
Hmm.
And it says the board must speak with one voice. So there's just things here that, yeah, I mean, I can redline things. I also don't want to turn this into a labor intensive thing either. But as an initially, I had said I read this, when we first were given these revisions, it says the proposed disclaimer amounts to government compelled speech, which is presumptively unconstitutional. Such disclaimers can be required of government employees, for example, ORS 260-432, but elected officials are not government employees, and ORS 260-432 does not apply to elected officials. Simply put, a government entity like the district cannot invent and mandate speech requirements for elected officials. So, I'm sorry, I skipped over. Just to go back,
And can I interrupt though, Mr. Miller, is that, see, we seem to be talking about different concepts. And so if you would send us the red line, I think we can address those because when you say, well, I don't like the words that the board speaks in one voice. Well, you or any one of the board members cannot speak for the board unless so authorized. And so it is true that whether it's a city council or this board of directors, that the government body can't speak through individuals unless the individuals are so authorized. That's the point. It's not an impediment to speech.
Mr. Peterkin,
It's
we're in
through
agreement.
authorization.
We are in agreement on that point. But you
Perfect.
cannot compel speech. You cannot require an elected official to give any disclaimer you can't compel speech in any manner. So I will, as you asked, I will redline and I will send over to Executive Director Heights and we'll go from there. Thank you.
Okay, so we're gonna kick this down the road for one more month, but I think we're getting closer to, answering the questions that need to be answered. So appreciate that from everyone. What else have we got here, Jeremy?
So the next would be the resolution 2603. So last month there was included language in there about an emergency change, which there was questions, of course, that it didn't fall under emergency clause. Tyler supplied plenty of documentation. It was taken back. The intention of this is to update the specifics of the public contracting rules to make sure our dollar amounts actually fit law versus the outdated policy where the dollar amounts does not. So I can read the whole resolution just for the sake of having it documented for everyone. Resolution 26.0/03 in the matter of the amendment of policy chapter 10 public contracting rules. Whereas the Board of Directors met on May 20th, 2026 regular meeting, whereas a quorum of directors was established, we'll have to make sure we get Brian listed off of that because he is not in attendance. Whereas policy chapter 10 district public contracting rules at rule 26 limits immediate procurements as follows. For procurements of goods or services greater than 5,000 and less than or equal to 150,000, the district may award a contract as an immediate procurement. Whereas the board has determined that the immediate procurement authority under Rule 26 should be amended to be consistent with ORS 279B.070 as follows. For procurements of goods or services greater than 25,000 and less than or equal to 250,000, the district may award a contract as an immediate procurement consistent with ORS 279B.070. Therefore, it was resolved that policy chapter 10 is hereby amended as stated above. The remainder of the policy chapter 10 remains unchanged until further amended by the board. By signing below, the president confirms his attendance and concurs the resolution is true and accurate as specified above. So when we started looking at the radio work that we were looking at and the dollar amounts listed in our policy absolutely did not match the current law for procurement 279B.070. Instead of going through the whole policy as we're getting ready to do the board policies and reviews, we're going to go through that process with SDA, and then we're sure the whole contract at that time or the whole policy will probably be looked at and updated as need be. But to make sure that we consistently not only follow law, but follow an updated policy with those dollar amounts as we go into the procurement process. We felt that the resolution was the faster way to update the specific line items that we needed to update to match Oregon procurement law.
So I would accept a motion to approve in a second, and then we can move into discussion on this if there's anybody has any questions or problems. So
Mr. Chair. So this is narrow in that it only adjusts the amount that was recently changed to 250,000. But did we have our entire procurement policy reviewed? Because I just put in ChatGPT what changes have occurred to ORS Chapter 279 in the last 4 years, and there's a plethora of changes.
The policy as a whole definitely needs to be updated. But we were trying to avoid slowing down the procurement process for the radio work by updating the dollar amounts to match. With us going into the board practices and reviews, we will be reviewing the whole policy. And I'm sure at that point, there will be lots of recommendations made because the policy is outdated as a whole. But we wanted to make sure that we had the dollar amounts updated.
so we could possibly move forward with this, then come back and do a revision at what?
A full review?
Is that what I'm hearing?
That's fine. I just would like to use our time wisely when we start doing this stuff.
Yeah, and the only reason was
Things
because
in a
we
whole.
we weren't sure, how long it would take for us to go through the whole policy, make the updates to the language, get it pushed out, and potentially slow down that radio procurement process even more. So as a way of trying to speed that process to make sure we at least hit that mark before we sit down and review the whole policy as a whole with the SDA overview.
Yeah, I just get afraid, Chapter 279 is huge, so I just get afraid of amending a single thing without holistically looking at the entire thing and understanding that there could be different impacts, but I get your point.
Okay, all that being said, I think I would like to accept a motion for resolution 2603 with the caveat that we're in.
And that we also need to remove Brian's name from the resolution.
Correct, so.
I'll make the motion, Jeff.
Okay, Mark's got the motion. We have a second.
I'll second it.
Okay, Mark and Shelley. Any other discussion on resolution 2603?
So the motion is that we're, with the revision, that we're removing Brian's name and authorizing the chair to sign. Is that what the motion is?
Yeah, and I think as well as the understanding that we're gonna review the whole policy and down the road that we need to
In the near
update the
future.
whole thing.
Yeah.
Okay, any other comments, questions? Call for the vote. All in favor of removing Brian, since he's not here, adopting resolution 2603 with the understanding that we're gonna have to go back in at some point in the near future to review the whole policy.
Yeah.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. What else have we got here?
The last would be the approval of amended employment agreement for Peter Burgess. So I received a letter and it's been included in the packet. It was kind of a last minute inclusion as we didn't receive it till late, but Peterkin Burgess has asked as they enter, Mr. Peter can enter semi-retirement. is expecting to step down as general counsel effective July 1st of 2026. But will continue upon approval of the board as special counsel to handle litigation, appeals, special projects, and complete pending legal matters. So the terms of engagement effective July 1st, 2026, all communications between us pertaining to the subject of our representation are confidential attorney-client communications and will be used by us solely for the purpose of pursuing the district's interests. The district will be billed monthly for our professional services and for disbursements paid by us on your behalf. For example, it's court fees, costs, but no travel costs to the district's meetings except. In conformity with the fee schedule set out in the additional terms of engagement listed below, payment is due within 10 days of the billing statement. In the event you do not have money, interest for payment of costs, we may advance costs or will refer the bill to you for direct payment. The district may, of course, terminate our representation at any time. We have a corresponding right to terminate our representation at any time, including but not limited to client's failure to cooperate with us upon reasonable request, failure to timely pay our monthly statements, or if we determine that to continue our representation would not be ethical or impractical. In the event that our representation terminates, the district may obtain all or any portion of the files created and maintained in connection with the representation, except our internal works papers, upon payment of all accrued fees and costs, including the cost of reproducing the file requested. It is important to maintain the privileged nature of our communication. Please refrain from discussing this case with any of the persons from this office. At no time should you ever relate any portion of a conversation with us to any third party, as doing so would risk of losing the benefit of the attorney-client privilege. Please review this letter carefully, and if you find it accurately states the district's understanding of our attorney-client relationship and fee agreement, countersign this letter where indicated and return a signed copy. So the additional terms of engagement, continued representation. Representation of the client by the attorney will continue after July 1st as specified above. A retainer is not requested at this time. If a retainer is requested and received on account 10 days after your bill is emailed, we will transfer earned fees and advance costs from our trust to our general account. Client must replenish the requested retainer amount in attorney's trust account on a monthly basis. If client fails to, attorney has a right to withdraw from representation. Anticipated trial or arbitration fees must be paid prior to 30 days before trial or arbitration. If not paid, attorney has the right to withdraw. Please note your monthly billing will be sent via only to Mickey Nichols. That's her email address. We will use the email address identified in this letter unless you provide an alternative email address for the fees. Interest fees unpaid after 10 days from billing will accrue interest at 12% per annum until paid. Fee arrangement, our attorney and staff rates are as follows. Attorney Michael Peterkin at $495 per hour. Megan Burgess, at $450 per hour. Tyler Hale at $325 per hour. Brittany Haber at $300 per hour. Contract associate attorneys $250 to $350 per hour. Legal assistant paralegal time $125 to $225 per hour. Computer research will be billed at the attorney's hourly rate plus online charges. Fees and retainer are determined on the basis of all relevant factors such as the experience of counsel, length of time to complete work, the complexity of the case, time limitations imposed by client, the amount involved, and the results obtained. Retainers are subject to upward revision depending on difficulties encountered. Trial fees will be estimated after discovery is completed. The firm's hourly rate may be increased within 30 days notice. Billings will show time expanded for work performed. Actions conducted by personnel at varying billing levels will also be identified. Copies of all documents, pleadings, and correspondence received and sent will be supplied if requested or as necessary to keep client informed. There is the time guidelines. The following are the minimum charges for services rendered. Consultation, 0.30 per hour. Telephone calls at 0.20 per hour. Letters, 0.30 per hour. Legal documents, 0.50 per hour. Or I'm sorry, half hour. Court appeals, 1 hour, and emails at 20 hours. Outcome, attorney makes no warranties or representations concerned. The successful resolution of any claims, any legal action may be filed. Attorney does not warrant or guarantee that attorney will obtain reimbursement for client of any fees, costs, or expenses arising from this representation. Arbitration. At the instance of either the attorney or the client, any disputes as to whether the attorney or the client has failed to honor this engagement letter will be submitted to Arbitration Service of Portland, or as the amount of legal fees will be submitted to the Oregon State Bar for arbitration and prompt resolution. Both the attorney and the client agree to be bound by the result of such arbitration. Venue for all disputes arising under this engagement letter will be Deschutes County, State of Oregon. Governing law. The laws of the state of Oregon shall govern the construction and interpretation of the engagement letter. File destruction. This office does not retain or store closed files indefinitely. It is this firm's policy to retain files for a period of 6 years. After that time, your file will be destroyed by a method acceptable to the Oregon State Bar without any further notice of communication to you. All relevant correspondence, pleadings, and other documents have been provided to the client at the time of service. Entire agreement. The engagement letter contains the entire agreement between the client and the attorney regarding this matter and the fees, charges, and expenses to be paid relative thereto. This agreement shall not be modified except by written agreement signed by the client and the attorney. Waiver of one provision by attorney is not a waiver of the agreement. This agreement shall be binding upon clients, heirs, executors, legal representatives, and successors. Sincerely, Michael Petercast.
Okay, Michael, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you.
Well, it's been a heck of a journey, but considering that I've worked way past many people, and I'm now over 65 by a fair measure, I'm going to step back, and so wanted to clean up and get everything done that I can between now and June 30th, and timed it so that you normally appoint new general counsel in July. And so I thought this timing would be good in giving advance notice so you guys can reach out and hire new general counsel. I know that Miller Nash has, I'm not sure the status of Miller Nash, but I know that they intend to broaden their scope of work from what they do now to be general counsel. And they have Heather Miller and Heather Van Meter and Savani Miller slated to take over the general counsel work in July or until the board chooses someone else.
Right. Any other comments from anyone on?
I would just like to clarify one thing in the letter.
Yeah.
So on page, I guess it's on page 1, with the paragraph that starts the district, it says, but no travel costs to the district meetings, etc. So does no travel costs mean no cost? So things like gas, lodging, things like that. But what about time? Are you charging for?
Never have charged. It's always been, I've never charged for time to simply travel to a board meeting. If I have a driver and I'm actually talking to the executive director or actually working to prepare, then I will charge my normal time, but absolute no time to just travel over to Columbia County. Never have charged for it and don't intend to charge for it.
Okay, so does that include no cost for example, gas and lodging though too? Or?
Yep. Nope. No hotels, no gas.
Great, thank
no
you.
Nothing.
Any other comments, questions? Yeah, I just want to thank you for your service and wish you the best, in your retirement and
Semi-retirement.
semi-retirement. So we still have you should the need arise. So anybody else? Okay.
So I will start reaching out, doing some research on replacement for general counsel.
Yes. Jeremy, I was gonna bring this up. Actually, do we need to do a motion really quick? Because it's kind of.
Yeah, you probably should do the motion to accept that.
Accept this. Yeah. So I would accept the motion to accept this engagement letter and the change of Michael going into To semi-retirement, yes. Accept a motion in a second.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, Shelley's got the motion.
I'll second.
Skip the second. Any other discussion? We've already kind of discussed it in detail here. Anybody else got anything to add? Okay, we'll go ahead and call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, motion carries. And then Tyler had a little comment, I believe.
I'm happy to help Jeremy with getting 3 or so proposals from general counsel law firms that provide services regularly to government entities and bring those forward to the board. I know you have a lot on your plate, but
Yeah, and you've actually been helpful with supplying some prior other attorneys that I've reached out to. So certainly if you have a list, I'd be happy to see your list so we can at least start reaching out to them and start collecting data.
yeah, I would like to find 3 firms to just come to a board meeting, whether it be Zoom or whatever, just to introduce themselves and their hourly rates and what services they offer.
Alrighty. I think we'll go into board member comments. We'll go ahead and start with Shelley.
Well, first off, I want to
Well,
say,
Shelley, hang on
Hold
just
on-
for a second.
Hold on a second.
Are you, excuse me, are we going into executive session? And because are you going to do member comments now and then executive session?
That is correct. We'll do member
Perfect.
comments and then,
Okay.
and then we will be doing executive session at the end, but I think we changed that here a little while ago and we started. A lot of people had already checked out, and don't stick around for our comments after
Okay.
executive session. So board member comments, Shelley.
okay, first off, I just want to say continued thoughts for Mickey and her healing process. Jeremy, I hope you have a great vacation. You deserve that. And congrats to Michael for your semi-retirement. And I have a letter that I'm gonna read at this time. So to the staff, board members and public, I joined Columbia 911 District as a board member to fill in a term from a member that couldn't complete their term, at which time the term was up, I ran for re-election. I've had experience with the volunteer fire ambulance associations in Vernonia as well as paid staff at Metro West Ambulance for about 15 years. While my heart wants to help and do what's right for all of us, this has become too time consuming as my personal job is also time consuming and my schedule is created a month in advance, which is difficult to change. My employees, boss, and the school district rely on me to continue doing the job I am known to do, and with the constant frivolous lawsuits, accusations, meetings, special meetings, executive meetings, rescheduled meetings on a regular basis, I feel it is in my best interest for everyone that I regretfully choose to resign my position at the conclusion of the June 29th, 2026 board meeting. I have enjoyed some of the time on this board, but I feel with the lies and manipulations that continue to go on from a board member that there is someone that can do a better job and have the time and energy it will take to move forward than myself. My kids, grandkids, and their activities are important to me as well as my job that I get paid to do, which has to be my priority at this time, along with my other volunteer activities. I wish you all the best of luck as you move forward. Sincerely, Shelley.
Okay. Thank you, Shelley. And thank you for all your years of service here. You're gonna be missed. So go ahead and turn, Mary Jo, yes.
Well, given that information, past practice is that we send information out to the spotlight on our social media to let the public know of a board vacancy. And then we can give them up till from, say, tomorrow, up until that first week, the first Monday, let me see, the Monday before our June meeting.
Yeah.
To get letters of interest into us. And then the board can go over those letters of interest at the June meeting and hopefully appoint
And how long is Shelley's term? What's that look like? Do you remember Shelley, what?
Believe her term is up on June 30 of 27.
Yeah,
So the person
That's
that,
right.
yeah, so the person that would be appointed would fill for that and then have to apply in, in the election like normal.
Okay,
Thank you,
Alright.
Shelley.
yes, thank you. Mark,
Well, I'd like to start off by thanking Shelley for the time that she spent on the board. I respect her decision, and it's not always easy juggling life's demands and work's demands, and we all do what we have to do, and I appreciate the time that she's spent, here and doing good work. So all the best, Shelley, with everything that you can do moving forward. I also like to thank Jolene for returning to the training program. Sounds like that's going to be very, very helpful. So appreciate that as well. I did also want to just note that yesterday during the events that were taking place in Longview, in my other capacity, I had reached out to the office here and was pleasantly surprised to find out that Jeremy had already reached out to Longview to get a status sit rep and find out how that was going to be impacting us here. So, kudos to him for being proactive in the midst of everything that was going on. And I think we did some great stuff here today. We had some great conversations and we're able to make some progress and move forward. So we get to see that continue.
okay,
Can
Go
I
ahead.
just add
Yeah.
on I appreciate the kind thoughts, but it was Danelle's quick action and requesting her lead to make the phone call and get the information. So though he reached out to me and I had an answer for him, really it goes out to Danelle and the lead for actually doing the work and reaching out to Longview to get the answer. But thank you. We appreciate the comment.
Tyler,
I don't have anything. Thank you.
okay. Well, yeah, Shelley, just again, echo on all of that. Appreciate all your years of service and look forward, you spend more time with family and you got a full plate. So we get all that, but you're gonna be missed on here, so and then same goes to Michael on all that, which we'd already mentioned. Yeah, just a huge shout out to Mickey, a second surgery and hopefully a speedy recovery, and we look forward to a full recovery and getting her back in here doing the job she loves to do. So, and does well.
Yeah, she's going a bit stir crazy.
I'm sure of that. Yeah, quite sure of that. So,
Mr. President, can I also say that, Mickey, when she started, walked into a tough situation because of circumstances. And I have to say that I've certainly been impressed, and I think that the board needs to recognize her really good work. And I think Jeremy can attest to that. And I just, and she came in after the first surgery and was back to work. And so, I'm not billing for these kinds of comments. I'm just saying to the board that, boy, she has stepped up and she's done a great job.
Yeah, her dedication to her work certainly. She was in here with helping get around with her significant other to collect paperwork so she could cut checks, even though it was against my better judgment. She insisted on getting it done. So thank you, Michael, and everybody for your well wishes. I'll make sure that they get passed along to her. I'm sure she'll be back as soon as she possibly can because she is not one to sit at home. So.
all right, at this time, we'll go ahead and enter into executive session under ORS 192.660 subsection 2H, legal counsel, and ORS 192.660 subsection 2I, performance evaluation of public employees.
Hit record already. Come on.
We'll go ahead and end executive session at 12:04. And we'll roll right into open session. And I'd like to turn it over to Mark for,
I'd like to make a motion to appoint Matt Tomlinson to handle the appeal in the Miller versus Heimmuller case in the United States Ninth Circuit and to authorize Mr. Peterson to assist as needed.
okay, we got a motion. for
I'll
Matt
second that.
Connelson. Excuse me, a motion for Matt Connelson to handle the appeal of the Miller versus Heimmuller case and to assist Mr. Peterson as needed. Second.
Shelley made the second.
Second, Shelley's got the second, motion and a second, all in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And with that, we'll go ahead and wrap the meeting up. Thank everyone for their time and have a great day.
Shelley, thanks for joining us from your office.
And
Yeah.
please just, please
Austin
just,
Stadium.
Mary
parking
Jo's
lot.
got something here too. The next meeting is very important, so.
yeah, just please remember that the June 29th meeting is our budget adoption. We are down to the last 2 days before we have to have it approved come that time.
All
So
right, thank you, everyone.
thank you.
Thanks. Thank you, Savani,
Bye,
for
guys.
joining us.
Bye, Sophie.
Bye.